340 horsepower, a 6-cylinder engine, and rear-wheel drive. Those are not the things that we usually associate with hot hatchbacks. It's more kind of the thing that we might associate with a sports car. And yet here we are in front of the BMW M140i, which is exactly that, a hot hatchback with rear-wheel drive and a great sounding 6-cylinder engine. In my opinion, this is actually the best modern hot hatchback, and that's a title that some people might dispute. So let me tell you why I actually think this. Let's talk a little bit about the history of this car. Now, historically, when BMW has put its 6-cylinder engine into the 1 Series or the 2 Series, or the 1 Series Coupe before it was the actual 2 Series, it always used its old engines, the N54 or N55. Now, those are pretty great engines in general, but they've all have their shortfalls. When it comes to this engine, which is a B58, BMW started using its modular architecture. It's essentially the same engine as a 2-liter 4-cylinder, which is a B48. And they have actually proved themselves to be bulletproof engines. I don't know a single person who had an issue either with their B48 or with their B55 engine. They're bulletproof. You can use them and abuse them, you can tune them, you can get them to some pretty interesting horsepower figures, and they'll last. I personally think the B58 is the best engine that BMW has made in the past 20 years. And that is one of the reasons why I love this car.
Going further into the history of this car, the 1 Series was born in 2004 out of the space that the controversially styled 3 Series Compact left vacant when it was discontinued. Its first generation, the E87, was a massive sales hit. It was the only rear-wheel drive hatchback among its main competitors, which provided a unique advantage when it came to driving dynamics. It also spawned the E82 BMW, also known as the 1 Series Coupe, which later in turn would become the current 2 Series. This car right here is a post-facelift version of the second generation 1 Series called the F20 and introduced back in late 2011. It retained the general characteristics of the first generation. But something happened in 2019 when the third generation came out. That car was now front-wheel drive and had no longer a 6-cylinder engine, arguably losing its most defining trait. Fans of the 1 Series, which abound, were absolutely livid, and so was I. To this day, I still think the post-facelift F20 in M140i trim is the ultimate 1 Series.
So I'll go a little bit on a tangent here because I want to talk about the Swiss car market versus the rest of Europe. You may have noticed that this car has a Swiss license plate, and that is because the owner used to live there and now drives his car in the Netherlands. But this car is very Swiss. Here's what I mean by that. When I moved to Spain, I started getting comments on how if I ever found a car that was sold originally in the Swiss market, I should buy it. That they were always better built and had more equipment. And with time, I noticed that that is true. The Swiss usually buy their cars fully loaded, and that is not the norm across Europe in general. In fact, I've been really disappointed about the level of equipment that I found in most cars. And this car is very Swiss, has almost every single optional equipment. But there are more things that make this car very Swiss, besides its license plate, of course. The color is also a giveaway that this car was sold in Switzerland. The Swiss are very low profile when it comes to their cars, and they're always either white, black, or silver, even when it comes to sports car or exotics. And this car is no exception. It's painted in glacier silver, which is actually a fairly rare color in this car. I think it was made only in 1 or 2 model years.
To be fair, the fact that this car is rear-wheel drive makes absolutely no sense from a commercial standpoint. The bulk of the 1 Series sold were not 6-cylinder sporty cars, but simple commuter grocery getters like the 118i or 120d. Only a fraction, and not a large one, of these BMW owners were enthusiasts. Most people were just looking for a Golf TDI and fell for the allure of a more prestigious badge. They wouldn't power slide their 101 horsepower 114i out of a corner, and you certainly won't find them at your local track. Meanwhile, rear-wheel drive comes at a huge cost, not only in literal terms as it is more expensive to build, but also elsewhere. For instance, the rear seats on the 1 Series are tiny in comparison to most of its rivals, and the huge transmission tunnel makes the middle seat almost useless. The cargo space in the trunk is not particularly big either. If you reached this point in the video, I think it'd be a great idea if you subscribed. This is a new channel for me, and having more subscribers helps a lot with getting the YouTube algorithm to do its magic. Thank you very much.
Now, I should say that this car has 420 horsepower since it's got a stage 1 upgrade instead of the 340 that it comes from factory with. So now that this car is up to temperature, let me show you what it can do. I should also say that this is the xDrive version, not the rear-wheel drive version. So whenever it detects that the wheels are slipping, then it sends power to the front wheels. I think the maximum that it can send is 40% to the front wheels and 60% at the rear. I'm going to say something polemical, and it's that I actually enjoy the sound of this modern 6-cylinder turbo engines better than the naturally aspirated ones. They did sound a bit like a tin can, and I say that having owned a 6-cylinder BMW. Can I ride with you in your BMW? Let's see how this car does in the freeway. The pedal response feels a little bit, I should say, twitchy. Like it's waiting for you to give it full throttle at any time. That might have to do with the tune that this car has, but it's not my favorite setup when it comes to road trips, for instance. So we've just arrived to the home of the BMW M140i, which is the gas station. These cars generally have a very small fuel tank. It's a problem that the BMW 2 Series Coupe also shares. So you'll spend a lot of time filling up here. Another good thing about these 1 Series is this. Listen, an actual handbrake, not a button. If you want to impress someone by throwing a handbrake turn, you can still do it in this car. Although, really, especially if you get the rear-wheel drive version, it doesn't make much sense.
Circling back to what I said before, the average new owner of a 1 Series is not an enthusiast and will certainly not be watching this video. For them, rear-wheel drive may even be a liability on rainy or snowy weather rather than a perk. Why would they sacrifice practicality on a feature they won't ever take advantage of? So, from a commercial standpoint, this car is madness. It makes no sense, and with the generation that came after this F20, they fixed it. The accountants won, and the car became rational, causing extreme joy to entry-level managers worldwide getting their first company car on a 36-month lease. But if you clicked on this video talking about an M140i, you're not one of those. And we should praise BMW for letting something like this slip through, for making it happen. There is one thing wrong with this car though, the badge. Fortunately this car is debadged, but I still can't get over the fact that they've decided to call these cars M. I'm very old school when it comes to that kind of stuff. There should be no M light. M cars should only have 2 characters in their name, not 5. Also a shame that while there was a 1M coupe and M2, there was no 1M hatchback. That would have been magnificent.
So to be fair, the Golf is a more practical and comfortable car. The Hyundai i30N is more economical, and the Mercedes A45 AMG is far more raw and has more power. However, I think when it comes to the pedigree of this car, BMW putting its 6-cylinder engine into its cheapest or more economical car is what makes this so special. And also the fact that you cannot get this anymore. There's no 1 Series with a 6-cylinder engine. I should note that there's one car that might deserve the title of the best modern hot hatchback, and that is the Audi RS3. It's a bit on its league of its own since it's above the M140i, but the 5-cylinder engine, I mean, I completely understand if you prefer that car over this one. And if you're actually interested in how tunable this car is, how much power you can extract out of the B58 engine, well then this is a great option as well. There's so many things you can do to this engine. I'm personally more of a person that likes to keep his car stock, but if that's what you like, it's a wonderful option.
There is another issue when driving these cars. It's incredibly hard to get even a fraction of its performance out on a public road without committing a felony. But I digress. This is all around a fantastic car. In the end, this might be the best hot hatchback of the 2010s, tied with the Audi RS3. In a world where almost every hot hatchback seems the same, with front-wheel drive and a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine that puts out somewhere between 250 and 400 horsepower, we should reward cars like this BMW by buying them, cherishing them, and enjoying them. But if you want practicality, just get a Golf.
If you like this video, don't forget to like it, subscribe, and comment for more content on this channel.